What up everyone, it's your boy X-Man87 here bringing you another Marvel Legends wishlist video, and what I have for you today are my top 10 wishlist of Spider-Man costumes that I want to see in Marvel Legends commemorating the 60th anniversary of Spider-Man. Before I get into everything, if you could please leave a thumbs up, like rating on the video, it'll help show your support for my channel and I greatly appreciate it. I know you guys have been wanting me to do another wishlist video from the first one I did back a few months ago with AOA. So I want to start off by saying that this list will not have any of the movie costumes because I'd want all of them regardless. No Spider-Man side characters or villains like Tarantula and Swarm and Mr. Negative that I'd like to see. If you want me to do a list of that, then let me know. Also, I went with a list that Hasbro has never done before, so no updates here for ones like a PS4 Advanced Suit update, as we know we'll get one, with most likely the tentacles for the PS5 version, Superior Spider-Man, Future Foundation, a classic pinless Spider-Man. Dwight already mentioned that they need to get around to that to get the correct red and blues on the arms. So we know these are pretty much in the works. Only different iterations of Spider-Man's costumes here that Hasbro hasn't done yet in the 6-inch line. Keeping it comics mainly, maybe one or two Gamerverse and animation sprinkled here and there. However, there's been a rumored list spreading around that we don't know if it's entirely true, so take it with a pinch of salt. I don't like talking about rumors, I only like to talk about what is confirmed by Hasbro officially, so I excluded everything from this rumor mill you see here. Again, this is just my wish list. I will say that this list has changed on me multiple times. This is something I had in the works for a while, finally getting around to it now. So when figures such as the Iron Spider, Symbiote Spider-Man on the retro body, the Armored Spider-Man Mark I that was going to be my number one, which is now out and I can't wait to get my hands on it, I had to rework the list several times. Thankfully, my good friend David Berry, who is almost as big as a Spider-Man fan as I am, he helped me out in narrowing this list as we shared ideas around while we're playing Fortnite, so big thank you, bro. This list is in no particular order, but my number one is indeed my number one. So, with that said, go web go! Alright, for a quick honorary mention, I'm going with the Spider Assassin. Black and red is one of my favorite color combos, and anytime I can get a Spider-Man in that color, I'll take it. This comes from, I believe, the What If Spider-Man vs. Wolverine, where Spider-Man becomes Marvel's most deadliest assassin. Fun fact about this costume, he modified his web shooters so they fire bullets. That's pretty freaking badass. Kicking things off at number 10, we have the Silver Surfer Spider-Man. Call it love at first sight since this has just been revealed recently, but when Marvel revealed their variant covers for the 60th anniversary, seeing Spider-Man as Silver Surfer, both who are in my top 5 favorite Marvel superheroes of all time, I fell in love and instantly told myself, I need a Marvel Legends of this. It'll be an easy one for Hasbro to make for sure. The black cobwebbing paint on top of that beautiful shiny silver paint they used on the Walgreens Silver Surfer, 2-pack Colossus, etc. It'll surely be a one-of-a-kind in our Spider-Verse shelf, and let's face it, would be pretty damn awesome to display next to the HASLAB Galactus. Next up on my list is the Spider-Man Pro Wrestling attire. This has been one on my radar, especially since I've always been a big fan of professional wrestling. We all know Spidey started out as a professional wrestler, so I would be really happy with two versions. The main one being the comic wrestling suit, in which that design heavily influenced the Andrew Garfield athletic stylized suit, which I loved. The other would be the PS4 Gamerverse wrestling suit, which can also go with your comic display since Marvel announced a few years back that the entire world of the PS4 Gamerverse Spider-Man is canon. This will definitely make me want to bust out a few of my wrestling rings for some sensational photography. Now, I would really love to see Spider-Lizard as a bath. After Peter Parker was exposed to Dr. Connor's Innervator device, he transformed into the Spider-Lizard. This would most likely be a bath and a crazy one to see. I believe some parts can be reused from that lizard bath, like the legs used to pop in, arms from the biceps down because the shoulders won't work from the lab coat design. The lower torso could stay. Basically, we would just need a new upper torso, a crotch piece without the sculpted pants and pockets to plug in for the tail, and a new head sculpt obviously. And that's just to name a few for example. I think Hasbro can do a great job on a figure like this that's never been done before. Up next is OCTO-SPIDEY. Spidey dons this four-armed harness created by Doc Ock after a corrupted government wanted to seize control of it and use it malevolently. Spidey used it for good to keep it out of the wrong hands, and he would later destroy the tentacles. This would give me one of the biggest nostalgia bugs ever if they put this on the retro card. Raise your hands, well, can't really see you do that, but comment if you had the Toy Biz 90s animated series figure of this. I had that and it was one of my favorite figures back then. I wouldn't rely on bendy wire for the tentacles. It'll probably look like the ones that came with the Superior Octopus from the Demogoblin Bath Wave, but it'll still make for a great display piece. This could be an easy one with adding an overlay harness on the retro Spider-Man body. Next up is the Spider-Man PS4 Gamerverse Anti-OCK suit. When Peter donned this special armor to prep for the final battle against Doc Ock in Spider-Man PS4, I instantly fell in love with the design. I do have the SH Figure Arts one, but it left much to be desired, and I believe Hasbro will top that, especially after their Gamerverse Miles Morales they just put out. I would love a battle-damaged head with the lens busted open because that was such an amazing and emotional display when Peter found out that Doc knew he was Spider-Man. You knew? You knew? Ha! I'll never forget that performance by voice actor Yuri Lowenthal. Definitely one of my top 5 skins in the game, and I need it in action figure form. Alright, we're at the halfway mark already, and let's go with Spider-Man Unlimited. After the 90s Spider-Man animated series, this was the sequel for that series, in which we follow Spider-Man on his quest to find Mary Jane after she disappeared in the series finale. This is one me and my homie Ace, aka Animated Heroes, talk about wanting a lot, especially since it was my favorite costume to use in the original Spider-Man game back in 2000 for the first ever PlayStation console. Who remembers that game? That was freaking epic. I wasn't a big fan of the Unlimited animated series though, but it's time for this costume to get the love it deserves. What better way to show it than in a Marvel Legends figure? Coincidence this is coming in my number 4 spot, but I am going with the Bombastic Bagman. When Spider-Man was separated from his alien symbiote suit and left Reed Richards to examine it, he was left without a costume and did not want to jeopardize his identity if caught web-slinging. So thanks to Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, to protect his identity, he lended him a spare Fantastic Four costume with no boots, a brown paper bag for a mask, and Johnny being Johnny taped a "Kick Me" sign on his back. Why haven't we received a Legends figure of this already? I believe there was a prototype back in the dark days of Hasbro, wow, a long time ago on San Diego Comic-Con display, but it never seen the light of day. I remember some folks, like myself, did customs taking the WWE Elite Cody Rhodes bag mask, cutting it, and putting it on the Reed Richards body. But the attire would have to look a little baggy instead of skin tight, so they might add a new sculpt or reuse those Shang-Chi pants like they did with Legion. They can go that route and maybe add the Shang-Chi bare feet to it as well. Who knows, they might just go with the more affordable route and just repaint one of the previous Spider-Man bodies like the Pizza Spidey, White Suit 2099, or Retro. We will see, but either way, I'll be excited to finally have this in my collection. I'll definitely get to the display in my Spider-Man and Fantastic Four shelves. Alright, and my top 3 are my top 3. So, coming in at number 3 is Man-Spider. I think we all know the story on how he turned into Man-Spider in the animated series, but in the comics, Peter Parker and Angel of the X-Men were captured during a trip to the Savage Land by the Mutates, a faction created by Magneto. Their leader, Brainchild, experimented with them in a machine that transformed them into primordial hybrids. While Angel turned into a Griffin, Spider-Man turned into Man-Spider. This would make for an interesting bath. I was never happy with the Toy Biz statue-like figure. As much as I want this version, I am very skeptical to the point I have no faith in it due to what Hasbro gave us with that horrible 6-armed Spider-Man and Doppelganger figures. The diaphragm joints were completely absent as well as the paint, making it no fun to pose nor visually appealing. At least the Spiral figure back in 2008 had a diaphragm joint with her 6 arms. That figure was still no better in terms of posing, but this needs a diaphragm joint that moves a good amount forward, back, side to side, and all that kind of spider-like maneuvering. All arms and legs need to be double jointed as well. The torn sculpting of his clothing, the sculpting of the hairs. No doubt it'll be a lot of work to do. In this case, I will be surprised if they pull it off right because of the proof we have that Hasbro can't handle 6-arm figures at all. That's why if this is not a BAF, I can only see this being done right as a HASLAB for a lower cost. Maybe those premium deluxe figure prices like Surtur, that's between the $60 to $80 range. I do remember Dwight Saw saying that not every HASLAB figure has to be over $300. It can be a lower scale and a lower price. As he mentioned, he's interested in doing something like a Cameron Hodges of the X-Men in a $40 to $50 price range or so. So it is possible. I could see Man-Spider being the first Spider-Man related HASLAB besides the likes of a Spider Slayer, let's say. What do you think? Anyways, if it's not a HASLAB, again, because I'm very skeptical, it's going to be one of those hope for the best but prepare for the worst scenarios. It's going to be hard for me to believe in it. Let's all hope for the best though, because if executed correctly, 101%, we can potentially get one of the best legends ever to be made. Number 2, a freaking Spider-Hulk BAF. This is another one of those crazy 90s Spider-Man designs that I love so much, and during a trip to Connecticut for a Daily Bugle assignment, Parker was zapped with bioelectric energy from the Hulk. The blast made him feel disoriented and out of coordination for days until he snapped angrily, where he transformed into Spider-Hulk. The Toy Biz one was amazing, and it's a holy grail in the community. That is if you have the legit one and not the knockoff. I still have my legit one and I love it. You probably saw me post it on my IG recently, but Hasbro does need to get around to this and update it. I was not a fan of that stupid gimmick feature with that huge lever on the back. Not good for photography at all, and it's just overall not a good look on the figure. The sculpting was top tier, and this would be an excellent BAF choice for any comic Spider-Man wave. I think Hasbro would crush it with the sculpt as they have with the recent BAFs this past year like Armadillo, AOA Colossus, Ursa Major, etc. The only thing I don't see done as far as sculpting is the cobwebbing. We've seen it many times where they sculpt the cobwebbing but don't paint it. Or it's painted but not sculpted. It's either one or the other. I prefer painted cobwebbing without the sculpting so it doesn't drive me insane if I see it sculpted and not painted. This is a matter of preference as some collectors don't like the sculpted webbing. Let me know, what do you prefer? The body would be the big question here. There are candidates such as the Caliban BAF Buck, Juggernaut BAF Buck. There is also the Hulk body that they can borrow some parts from too. Or would you like to see them go with an all new mold? After all, it's better when pinless. Pinless arms will be important to get the correct blue and red on the outer and inner arms. We'll have to see some sculpt work throughout for the torn clothing. This could also be a great opportunity to introduce a double diaphragm joint for bigger body molds. Not saying it's gonna happen, but will certainly bring more options for bigger flexible characters. Another thing we must get with this is a set of closed fists and open hands, hoping for maybe an alternate head too. This is one of my top Spider-Mans and is long overdue for an update. This would be BAF of the year for me if it happens. And my numero uno would be a comic battle damaged Spider-Man in his classic attire. For those of you who's followed me over the years, you know that this is my most wanted Spider-Man. Mainly for photography, yes, as I would purchase 5 of these to beat the hell out of. But what's the best thing about Spider-Man? I'll say it over and over again, it's his resiliency. No matter how many times he is beaten, he will always find a way to get back up and fight. This would make for an endless amount of ACBA photography, with how Hasbro has brilliantly handled blood on the figures with the gashes on Heimdall, the battered up Kane Marco Juggernaut head, the Craven 2-pack Peter Parker head, and of course, how can we forget that gruesomely gory zombie cap? They can knock it out of the park here. Multiple heads to display different torn masks, maybe one with the eye lens completely out showing his eye, his mouth exposed along with some hair sticking out, a string of his torn mask dangling down, some bloody gashes throughout his body wherever parts of his costume are torn. I can go on and on. I would like an additional head that comes with a bloody torn eye socket from when Morlun ripped his eye out. Another cool accessory would be damaged web cartridges. I would pitch the idea to Hasbro as an accessory pack. It would make sense for a battle damaged Spider-Man to come with accessories to complement his villains. Maybe including powered down Sandman arms for us who have the BAF. new electric effects for Electro, a more classic Lizard head for the Bath, maybe a Gwen Stacy head with a broken neck. It's like, nah, I'm just playing. Swappable powered down arms for Hydro Man. No, wait, I don't think they were swappable, right? Someone remind me in the comments. How about a fabric lab coat for Doc Ock, or swappable pincers that have a pinching gesture? Better yet, give us bendy wire tentacles. That'll sell on its own. Maybe a non-painted mouth for Scorpion. There are just a bunch of things we can name together here. They can literally sell it as a Spider-Man Sinister 6 accessory pack. It doesn't need to be a 2-pack. Just put Spider-Man dead center in a box the size of maybe like MODOK or the Wolverine versus multi-pack, let's say, and all the accessories surrounding him. I can see this being done maybe after we get a classic pinless Spider-Man on the retro body and can use that on this. I think this is something we can all rally behind, and I'm still baffled as to why we have yet to receive such an iconic look for the character. This is my #1 most wanted Spider-Man figure of all time. Now I kick it back to you. Figured I'd do something different here and give you a brief background on these costumes and not just, you know, make a list of what I want to see. You know, I think that adds a little more fun to it, especially for those that like to know where these costumes come from. So what are your favorite Spider-Man costumes that you'd like to see made in Marvel Legends? Which ones do you agree with on my list? This was hard to narrow down since Spider-Man has a plethora of costumes. There's still so many I want that didn't make it on my list, so we'll see if any of these get to see the light of day. Anyways, comment below, let me know, we'll chat about it. Thanks for tuning in for this fun topic of discussion. Please follow me on Instagram if you haven't already, link is in the description below. Hit the notification bell so you always know when my latest videos are up. Share and subscribe if you're new. See you on the next video. Peace, peace.